Rise up, women, for the fight is going on. Rise up, women, for the fight is going on, and the cause goes marching on. Rise up, women, for the fight is going on. Rise up, women, for the fight is going on. Rise up, women, for the fight.
Everyone, let's turn around this way and let's listen in. Come on in close. Come on in close, everyone.
Further down, further down.
Ladies, forward.
This way, please.
We're gonna
Ladies, prepare for speeches.
Down this way so you can hear. This is for you. This is not stage. This is for you.
Okay.
Come on.
Come on, get closer. And your luck.
Come.
There we go. I think they're ready for you.
Okay. Gentlemen and ladies of Fillmore County, I am Clara Euland. You likely have read about me in the newspapers. I am the president of the Minnesota Women's Suffrage Association. I have brought several colleagues with me today, and we are thrilled to be here in Lanesboro with you on this important occasion.
Yeah.
I am no stranger to this county, as my husband, Judge Andreas Euland, spent much of his childhood in the Rushford area, and we have returned often to visit. I am here at the invitation of Luther Nelson and his father Samuel Nelson, who were residents of Lanesboro until recently. Samuel and his brother Peter and family have now moved to Minneapolis. They are well, and they send their greetings. Mr. Nelson continues as a state representative, and he has recently added the task of creating the Central Lutheran Church of Minneapolis, along with my husband and myself. And it is there that we have formed a friendship. When Luther mentioned that there would be a victory parade, I knew there was the risk that the Army nurses would be ignored.
Oh, shame.
That is often the case. And I am here to speak with Mr. Haberstad about including them.
Yes.
Oh, yes. You likely know, ladies, that we have been fighting for the right to vote as full citizens in this country for nearly 100 years. We have encountered one obstacle after another, but we continue to be a strong force.
Yeah.
You're here. I wish I had a penny for every suffrage amendment we have introduced in St. Paul that has been defeated. But I think the tide is finally turning for our ship of equal rights, but we are not yet in port. We live in uncertain times. War, influenza, unimaginable forest fires. Our country continues to need our help. And when we act as loyal citizens, we must be treated as full citizens.
That's right.
And that means we absolutely must have the right to vote. Yes.
Votes for women.
Votes for women. Do you really think men are more intelligent than we are?
No.
Now, I'd like to introduce to you someone you may not have read about in the newspapers, Mrs. Nellie Griswold Francis. She is a star in the suffrage movement, a flame burning with passion for equal rights for her sex as well as her race. Her ruling motive is to help her race, and it is so needed. Please welcome Nellie Griswold Francis.
Thank you, Mrs. Euland. I indeed created the Every Women's Suffrage Group of St. Paul. It is the only suffrage group for colored women in the state of Minnesota.
Yeah!
It has been only 4 years, but during that time we have done important work, demanding equal rights for colored women and social justice for the Negro race. All women have important work to do. I want to thank and applaud Mrs. Hewland for her work and her support towards our cause. When the National Women's Suffrage Organization wanted to cut out colored women from their voting demand, Mrs. Hewland flatly denied the approval of the measure from the Minnesota Association. Thank you. Women of all walks of life have very important work to do towards this cause. Colored, white, rich, poor, we are stronger together!
Oh, yes, 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 Mrs. Francis. You could not be more accurate. Hello.
Hello!
Hello. I am Emily Haskell Bright, past president of the Minnesota Women's Suffrage Association and now serving on its board of directors. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I am so pleased to be in the hometown of Congressman Sidney Anderson, who has been supporting suffrage bills in our nation's capital.
Hear, hear.
Norwegian immigrants to our state are doing wonderful things for equal rights. When Bertha Moeller first helped form the Scandinavian Women's Suffrage Association, she made sure that dues were very low. This allowed the participation of Norwegian and Swedish women, immigrant women, across our state, rich and poor alike, as Mrs. Francis has said. We now have 30,000 suffragist members in 6 very different organizations. Now, because of the difficulty of getting legislation passed on the state level, this has inspired some of my colleagues and I to begin our work in Washington, D.C. on a more forceful association of women, the National Women's Party. Yes. I feel we are so close and we must push forward. Now, it is not easy. Some of our members have endured extreme hardships. Bertha Moeller is here to give us a first-hand account of her experiences in Washington, D.C. Bertha Moeller.
Having just returned from Washington, D.C., I think I could forego the bullhorn today. Thank you, Emily. Thank you, Clara. It was a pleasure to hear you here today. President Wilson has put our entire movement on hold during this war effort. So many of us marched for peace and for avoiding the war, just like Mr. Wilson did at first. When he changed his mind, all issues of equal rights and fair pay went out the window.
Shame.
He even began arresting our pacifist speakers, our peacemakers. We would not be silenced, so many of us marched on the Capitol for our full rights of citizenship.
Yes. Yes.
How can we fight for democracy when only half of our country has those rights?
Right.
The male
Right.
half.
Yes.
Perhaps you read in the newspapers that we were arrested in front of the White House. We were released. Then we were arrested again. Finally, we were held indefinitely and illegally, I might add. So we began a hunger strike, just like the women in England have been doing. We would rather die than be silenced.
Silent no more.
They could not let us die, so they began to force feed us. You cannot imagine how incredibly painful, and furthermore, how humiliating it is to be treated like common farm animals. The newspapers have finally listened to our demands. Congress has begun to have hearings. There is hope for a constitutional amendment. So be prepared to fight with your legislators in each state for this to happen. Write to your congressman tonight, ladies. Write to Washington tonight.
I want to thank all the women here who have given speeches. Thank you so much. And to the Red Cross ladies and all who support our war. I think they have our support, right? All right. Well, Gilbert, hi, how are you doing there?
Hello, I'm Gilbert Elliston, the watchmaker. My wife was out here marching. I must say I was very impressed. And I'll surely hear more about it over the dinner table. And I'm glad to join Luther as your guide to see this part of town. We'll pass my shop, Elliston Jewelers, on the way. So you want to follow me?
Let's follow Gilbert. We're going to go this way, past his shop.